No, aspetta. To get another keyboard because I dropped this one. It starts to show. Hare, Krishna, Hare, Bhagavama, Hare, Duryodhana, Hare, EXORCISM. HAKḵA, HABA, HADU, HAYU. HAKḵA, HABA, HADU, HAYU. Sorry about the volume. No, it should be good. Volume check. Volume check. Shri Agnaye Namaha Namaste Agni.
Run global security, run the global economy, and run global technology. Because underneath it all,
Shri Balavanmanaganweshaya Namaha. No, Shukha. No, Shalom. Shri Balavanmanagarashaya Namaha.
Manage strategic competition. Have your strategic red lines around the core security questions, both sides understanding where you can't cross over. Taiwan, East China Sea, South China Sea, cyberspace.
Namaste. Shri Balavanmanashapadra.
Competition that is non-force driven, non-military competition across trade, investment, technology, foreign policy, ideology, and the rest, and make the best system win. And then the third is, can you carve out some space over here for things that your interests are sufficiently in common that you have to cooperate?
Shri Balavamana Balaramaya Namaha.
How about these new and most disturbing and potentially destabilizing AI models which are emerging, which if they got into the hand of non-state actors and rogue states,
Shri Alabhamana Buddhaya Namaha.
states and the open democracies of the world, but also China.
Shri Alabhamana Yutisha Twiraya Namaha.
Areas where you can cooperate. So what I argue is a framework which recognizes the differences and manages those red lines. Full-blown competition in all these other domains, so long as we don't blow each other's brains out in any of them. And then thirdly, being smart enough, old enough, wise enough, and ugly enough to work out, here are 2 or 3 areas where it's in your interests and mine,
Namaste. Hare Krishna Manantram, Prabhupada Manantram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare RAMA, Hare RAMA, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare RAMA, Hare RAMA, 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 Hare Hare. Shri Arjunakalki, Shri Arjunakalki Namaha. Shri Gāṇḍwīva Namaha. Shri Balavamana Jagannataya Namaha. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. No, shukha. No, shalom. Ana Bekuak Gedulat Yemineka Tatil Gerura. Ana Bekuak Gedulat Yemineka Tatil Gerura. No, shukha. No, shalom.
Longtime incumbent Louisiana GOP Senator Bill Cassidy, a vocal Trump critic, defeated Saturday by Trump-backed Julia Letlow and State Treasurer John Fleming. Letlow and Fleming advanced to a runoff June 27. Cassidy, after the vote, to in.
I have spoken with John. I have spoken with Julia. This was not the result that I necessarily wanted.
For Democrats, Jamie Davis advanced to a runoff, the second spot too close to call. America's listening to Fox News.
Looking for a great deal to stay connected? Now for a limited time, new Verizon mobile and home customers can get Fios and a line of mobile for just $69.99 a month. This offer, Fios 300 megabit per second for $20 a month and unlimited welcome for $50 a month, plus taxes and fees when you bring your own phone. Visit a Verizon store today.
Babel Linat HAKḵ Daharenu Nora. Na Gibol Dorul Shei Ifudaka Gababat Shomaram. Barikam Daharam Rakame Chidekateka Dami Gumalam. Sin Gadosh Barov Dubeka Nahel Adateka. Sin Gadosh Barov Dubeka Nahel Adateka.
New York soccer fans.
야키게 왜 아메카 베네 조크레이 게두샤테카 나 저게 나 저는 이알
With Verizon, no one gets you close. No purchase necessary. Ends May 14th. Only legal residents residing in select states and see official rules at visitverizonstores.com.
Okay, Sivan, sorry. No, oh, I did it correctly. Okay, Sivan. No, 저게 나 저는
Or why your easy wooden tires are always muddy. Toyota, let's go places.
Every weekend, it's the Sunday briefing. Senior White House correspondents Jackie Heinrich and Peter Doocy anchor from Washington, D.C. President Trump will not be signing a new law if it ever reaches his desk, tackling all facets of the White House debate, including the
Tikkun Hanefesh.
States national and international,
Sale parameters are being set.
as well as the key issues impacting the administration. Listen, follow, and hear it on your time at FoxNewsPodcasts.com. The Sunday Briefing Podcast.
Looking for a great deal to stay
No,
connected?
저게
Now for a limited
나
time,
저는
Verizon mobile and home customers can get Fios and a line of mobile for just
그때
$69.99 a month with autopay. Get Fios 300 megabit per second for $20 a month and unlimited roaming for $50 a month, plus taxes and fees when you bring your own phone. Visit a Verizon store today to learn more and switch. For new Fios and Android mobile customers, discounts apply for 36 months. Mobile and phone discount will apply. Additional terms apply. Terms and congestion and any 5G and LTE is temporarily slow without traffic.
Cool and crisp, Modelo tastes good. But you know what tastes even better? That survived the evening rush, Modelo.
허그마
That post 12-hour shift, Modelo. That fought for every rebound, Modelo. That just clocked out on a Friday, Modelo. That Modelo you learned is just better. That Modelo is the mark of a fight. Drink responsibly. We are Report Chicago Illinois.
you know
The Brett Bear Show.
America's got to be in the lead if you want to deal with these threats. We're going to lead.
The morning is over, the Shiva is done, and if you're a conservative, you should be optimistic.
You know, my main priority right now is making sure that it delivers for the American people.
We have to make our country great again, and I will do that.
I think the president gets criticized by people all the time for the stuff he says, by people who ignore what he does.
Now, Brett Baer's All-Star Panel.
We now return to the Brett Bear Show.
We both believe that the China-US relationship is the most important bilateral relationship in the world. We must make it work and never mess it up. Both China and the United States stand to gain from cooperation and lose from confrontation. Our two countries should be partners rather than rivals. President Trump and I also agreed to build a constructive China-US relationship of strategic stability.
The relationship between the American and Chinese people goes all the way back to America's founding. This bond of commerce and respect that stretches back 250 years is the foundation for a future that benefits both of our nations. The American and Chinese people share much in common. We value hard work. We value courage and achievement. We love our families and we love our countries. Together we have the chance to draw these values to create a future of greater prosperity, cooperation, and happiness, and peace for our children. We love our children.
President Trump and President Xi at the welcome dinner, a lot of conference circumstance here. The White House putting out some bullet points about that first meeting, what the two leaders talked about. There was economic cooperation, enhancing that, ending the flow of fentanyl precursors into the U.S., China opposition to militarization of the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. It was the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman who put out a statement right after that meeting that raised some eyebrows, saying President Xi stressed to President Trump that the Taiwan question is the most important issue in China-U.S. relations. If it's handled properly, the bilateral relationship will enjoy overall stability. Otherwise, the two countries will have clashes and even conflicts, putting the entire relationship in great jeopardy. The Democratic leader of the Senate heading to X, saying Trump must not sell out Taiwan, period. That from Chuck Schumer. With that, let's bring in on panel Here in Beijing, Alex Gangitano, White House reporter for Politico, Bill Hemmer, co-anchor of America's Newsroom, and Annie Linsky, White House reporter for the Wall Street Journal. All right, Annie, I guess that Taiwan message from China really got us ears perked up.
Absolutely, Brett. I mean, this is the message that the White House expected to hear from the Chinese, but it's not what they wanted to hear. The U.S. side was previewing and signaling for days that the president had no intention and has no intention to change U.S. policy on Taiwan, but for the Chinese to put that out so almost immediately after they met, was a move on their part to set the narrative, and it took quite a while for the White House to put their statement out. So there was a long time waiting, but this statement, the White House statement, made no mention of Taiwan. It was like two completely different meetings almost.
Yeah, and to that point, Secretary of State Rubio was on NBC, and he had this to say.
They always raise that issue, and we understand they raise that issue. From our perspective, any forced change in the status quo and the situation that's there now would be bad for both countries. One of the things the Chinese emphasize, which we agree, is strategic stability in our relationship. A constructive relationship, but also one that establishes strategic stability so that we don't have misunderstandings that could lead to broader conflict. And so we always reiterate the point. We hear them when they say this. We always respond by saying anything that would compel or force a change in what we have now would be problematic, and that we would certainly, that our policies on that have not changed. It's been pretty consistent across multiple presidential administrations, and remains consistent now.
It doesn't sound, Phil, like the policy is going to change. We'll hear from President Trump in Sean's interview, and I talked to him tomorrow.
Yeah, listen, the language is tougher. It was tougher for a reason. I frankly think the Trump team is tougher than a lot of other teams in the past that have met with Chinese delegations. And I know the statements were different, but I thought the words on camera from President Xi were the most significant. Because he said at the very beginning of the meeting, knowing the cameras were rolling, if there's any misunderstanding in Taiwan, it could create an extremely dangerous situation. Yes, it's tougher language, but again, it's a tougher team on behalf of the country. There will be wins on trade, on AI, for Boeing, etc. But when it comes to Taiwan, ask yourself this. Does President Xi want war? Taiwan is an island nation of 23 million people. They're separated by a body of water that's 110 miles wide. The Strait of Hormuz is 20. The English Channel is 20. The Chinese have not fought a war in 47 years, and even then, that war lasted 1 day. In 1979 with the North Vietnamese Army. We've been to war in America, and we know how tough that can be.
Yeah, I'd say they don't have a lot of experience, but they do have a lot of material and ships and stuff.
That's right. I mean, they have a lot of stuff. That's definitely what I think President Xi is going into this, saying we are in a position if we do need to take this firm stance, and how firm he was, as Bill was saying, on saying we're going to be talking about Taiwan and we're going to be aggressive on talking about Taiwan. And so I'm curious if the White House put out that statement not mentioning Taiwan as a way to kind of counter how firm he was, saying, well, we're not changing our stance, we're sticking with the status quo. President Xi can say whatever he wants on it, but we're more interested in these deliverables regarding agriculture, regarding Iran, regarding whatever other things that they thought were real wins for them, and ignoring some of those firm points because they're not changing.
Yeah, speaking of Iran, as I mentioned, Sean talked to President Trump after that first meeting. Here's a piece of that specifically about Iran.
President Xi would like to see a agreement. We would like to see a agreement. And we did offer, said, if I can be of any help at all, I would like to be of help. Because he said, and we said, and look, anybody that buys that much oil is obviously got some kind of a relationship with him. But he said, I would love to be of help. If I can be of any help whatsoever, we'd like to see the Hormuz Strait open. So if I can be of any help whatsoever, I would like to help.
And if that's true, and they actually do something, it seems like a big deal.
Well, you know, Brett, I would like to hear that from the Chinese, quite frankly. The U.S. statement said something quite interesting. It was that the Chinese were considering buying more U.S. oil to offset and reduce their dependence on the Strait of Hormuz. The implication there is that the Chinese, which is by far the largest purchaser of Iranian oil, would reduce the amount that they're purchasing the oil, and that essentially means reducing Chinese financial support for the Iranians, potentially. But that's something I here in the Chinese confirmation. We did reach out to the Chinese firm, to the Chinese ministry, and as of at least late last night, I hadn't heard from them.
Tough to get some answers in this environment. It really is. Bill, speaking of Chinese tankers, though, in just the past few days, 3 have made their way out, filled with oil.
That's progress. You know, I thought what Rubio said in that NBC interview was very telling. He said, we don't need China's help on Iran. Imagine if that were flipped around. Right? I mean, that would really put you in a position of weakness. And so, again, I think it comes back yet again, Brett, to who the Trump team is here in Beijing. Scott Bessent is a pugnacious guy, and he didn't just show up 2 days ago. He's been in the region in South Korea and Japan, and we know the history of Marco Rubio. He's a tough talker. We saw that in the interview on Air Force One with Sean, and then you've got you know, #47 and like the lead horse here, and I just think it's a group of Americans that the Chinese are not necessarily that familiar with when it comes to the personalities of this team.
Yes.
Speaking of Treasury Secretary Bessent, he was on CNBC, and they were talking pretty tough about where they think Iran is. Take a listen.
China, it's very much in their interest to get the strait reopened, and I think they will be working with behind the scenes to the extent anyone has any say over the Iranian leadership. We believe we're at the point where soldiers aren't getting paid. They're not able to replenish their weapon stocks from abroad. So you know, I think that they are on their last legs.
I mean, that's the messaging from the White House, Alex, but there is this disconnect between control of the strait, or what they say is control, and being portrayed.
That's right, and I think even the fact that they were saying we don't need China's help in Iran, and then we have Secretary Bessent saying maybe they could help us keep the strait open. I think there is some disconnect because I don't think they know exactly what they want out of China in terms of how much they can use them during this Iran war. I think the fact that even they put out the statement that President Xi is agreeing with President Trump that they shouldn't have a nuclear weapon, that was kind of the baseline that they're going for here, and we'll see if we'll get more information about exactly what they can do with the strait.
And I bet we're going to get specifics on some of this business. You know, we heard the Boeing jets and all the stuff that's coming.
Yeah, the one thing that surprised me in Sean's interview is that we were told coming in that Boeing was going to sell 300 737 MAX jets, and the president said the 200 number, so we'll see whether or not that stays. With regard to soybeans, on the CNBC interview, he said that's already a done deal. And on AI, there's a big focus back home, especially in Washington and New York City. They wanted to make sure that Washington and Beijing had a working deal where they could protect AI for AI's
샤바테누 가벨 우시모 장아카테누 요데아 달루못 샤바테누 가벨 우시모 장아카테누 요데아 달루못 writing. Tomorrow there's a writing session, so I'm not gonna write tomorrow during my Kabbalah ritual. Safe space. Right, not it backwards. 70. Not gonna have my HADU HAYU. Also right up to the next one. what I get a ton of space, safe space.
New York soccer fans, the biggest stage in world soccer is coming to the U.S. You can be part of the excitement. Head to a participating Verizon store for your chance to win tickets to FIFA World Cup 2026. It only takes a minute to enter, and no Verizon account is required. Check out visit Verizon.com today for participating locations. It's May 14th. With Verizon, nobody gets you closer.
Writing 2 months. Hare, Krishna, Hare, Krishna, Hare, Hare, Hare Rāma, Rāma, Hare, Hare. I'll write one more mantra and then I shall.
This summit, specifically, the logistics would not work. But with both sides looking for insights into one another, we jumped at the chance to talk with someone who's been on the inside of China's decision making and knows what the CCP is thinking about this week. Joe Blow is a former senior colonel of the People's Liberation Army. He's now a senior fellow at the Center for International Security and Strategy at the Joe Blow University. He's also the author of the book, Should the World Fear China? What does success look like for China in this summit?
I think the fact that Trump is within China is already a success. Yeah, for the Chinese people. I believe things have changed somewhat because this would be a kind of clue to what Chinese people have already. They must start to believe that China is equal to the United States. And now, of course, it does not mean that this is the kind of peer competitors, but we can also be on equal footing for a lot of corporations around the world.
Hare, Krishna, Hare, RAMA, Hare, Krishna, Hare, HADU. Chanting for half an hour, chanting for 20 minutes. I'm gonna take a 1 minute break, switching to
So I believe this will be discussed, and I personally believe China will help that this to participate and make announcement, for example, to simultaneously reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
Let's do this. Sorry. I use cheaper equipment.
Because it's from 80 to 90%, for us it's about 13%. This kind of damage is obvious for China. It is terrible, but it is still kind of damage in a world that had nothing to do with China. So therefore, it's also in our interest to say probably we might see something coming out of this summit, because this summit is determining that once this leader, once the strong nation on earth, probably will ask Chinese people, and the China will stand with but we will be stuck.
Some issue with Taiwan seems to be a big concern. Do you think that's why we come up with this
Shri Managanuashaya Namaha. Na Shaka, Na Shama. Hare Hare Krishna, Hare RāMA, Hare Duryodhana, Hare Yudhishthira. 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rāma, Hare Duryodhana, Hare Yudhishthira. 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 Shri Ashtabhalavamana Kukuraya Namaha. No Chakha. No Shalom. No Chakha. No Shalom. Shri Ashtabhalavamana Kukuraya Namaha. No Sukha. No Shalom. Shri Ashtabhalavamana Kukuraya Namaha. No Sukha. No Shalom. HAKḵE. Shri Ashitava Lava Mana Kukukuraya Namaha. Sukha. Shalom. Shri Ashitava Lava Mana Kukukuraya Namaha. Shri Ashitava Lava Mana Kukukuraya Namaha. Sukha. Shalom. Shri Ashitava Lava Mana Kukukuraya Namaha. Sukha. Shalom. Got it? Shri Ashitava Lava Mana Kukukura Ya Namaha. No, it's okay. No, Shalom. Shri Ashitava Lava Mana Kukukura Ya Namaha. No, Shukha. No, Shalom. I got it. Shri Ashitava Lava Mana Kukukura Ya Namaha. No, Shukha. No, Shalom. Shri Ashitaba Lava Mana Kukukura Ya Namaha. Last round. Chaka. No, Chanting. Not too bad. Thank you, everyone. Chaka. No, Shalom. Okay, I'm done here. I'm gonna chant 7 rounds privately, audible, and then I already chanted like 48 of that. Yeah, I did 48 of whisper already this morning. So, have a nice day. God bless you. Shukha. No, Shalom.